They say the screams never stopped. Even after the last patient was transferred out in 1997, even after the doors were chained shut and the windows boarded up, the sounds continued. High-pitched wails echoing through rusted ventilation shafts, desperate pleas for help crawling through the darkness, and the unmistakable sound of fingernails scraping against metal. The Hollowbrook Psychiatric Hospital sits abandoned on the outskirts of a town that refuses to speak its name, and what happened within those decaying walls defies every logical explanation. It was 3:15 in the morning when urban explorer Marcus Chen first heard them. He'd broken into dozens of abandoned buildings before, armed with nothing but a flashlight and a camera, but Hollowbrook was different. The moment he stepped through the shattered entrance, the air itself felt wrong, thick and oppressive, like breathing through wet cloth. The main hallway stretched before him, patient room doors hanging open like screaming mouths, and that's when he heard it. A woman's voice, crystal clear, coming from the ventilation grate above his head, begging someone named Dr. Ashford to please let her go home. Marcus froze. The building had been empty for 28 years. He pressed record on his camera and approached the vent, and what he captured that night would haunt him forever. The voice grew louder, more desperate, joined by others. A chorus of anguish rising from the ductwork like souls clawing their way up from hell itself. But here's what made his blood run cold. When he reviewed the footage later, he realized the voices were speaking in patterns, repeating the exact same phrases, the exact same inflections, as if they were stuck in an endless loop of their final moments. The history of Hollowbrook reads like a horror novel written in blood and bureaucratic negligence. Built in 1923, it was designed to house 200 patients, but at its peak held over 800 souls crammed into rooms meant for 2 or 3. The treatment methods were barbaric even by the standards of the time. Electroshock therapy administered without anesthesia, patients restrained for days in isolation chambers, experimental surgeries performed by doctors who saw their subjects as less than human. The ventilation system, ironically installed in 1956 as a humanitarian improvement, became a network of terror. Patients would scream into the vents, their voices carried throughout the entire facility, creating a symphony of madness that drove even the staff to the edge of sanity. Dr. Helena Ashford ran the facility from 1972 until its closure. Records show she pioneered what she called sensory deprivation therapy, locking patients in soundproof rooms connected only by the ventilation system, forcing them to listen to each other's breakdowns while experiencing their own psychological collapse. Former staff members who finally broke their silence decades later described hearing the same voices, the same screams, playing on repeat through the vents long after those patients had died or been transferred. They called it the echo effect, but none could explain how voices could become permanently embedded in metal and concrete. When demolition crews arrived in 2003 to tear the building down, they lasted exactly 4 hours. Workers reported hearing children singing lullabies in empty wards, the sound of gurneys rolling down hallways where no floor remained, and those same desperate pleas emanating from ventilation shafts even after the power had been cut for years. The foreman, a man with 30 years of demolition experience, walked off the job and never returned. The building still stands today, a monument to suffering that refuses to be silenced. Paranormal investigators have attempted to explain the phenomenon. Some claim the limestone foundation acts as a recording medium, capturing emotional energy and playing it back under certain atmospheric conditions. Others believe the victim's trauma was so intense, it literally imprinted on the physical structure of the building. But scientists who've studied the recordings find something even more disturbing. The voices show signs of being aware, responding to questions asked by investigators, predicting events that haven't happened yet, as if time itself has become unstable within those walls. Local residents have a simpler explanation. They say Hollowbrook isn't haunted. They say it's still operating, existing in some parallel version of reality, where Dr. Ashford never stopped her experiments, where the patients never left, where the screams will continue forever bleeding through the vents into our world, as a warning of what happens when we abandon our humanity in the name of treatment. Marcus Chen never returned to Hollowbrook, But he still hears the voices sometimes when the wind blows a certain way, when he's alone in the dark. He says they're not asking for help anymore. They're inviting him back. They're saying there's always room for one more patient in the asylum, where no one ever truly leaves. If you found this investigation into the unexplained chilling, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the darkest mysteries and most terrifying true stories. New videos every week. Until next time, stay curious and maybe stay away from abandoned buildings.